I've been playing tennis for years now. Ever since watching Prince of Tennis in middle school and getting out on the court to give it a try, it's been my sport of choice. So when I heard that Nintendo and Camelot were coming together to make another entry in the Mario Tennis series, I was really excited to dive into another fantastic sports game from the franchise. Then I finally got my hands on Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and all of that excitement faded away. Boring to play and not much to do, it's obvious the company abandoned this game when they realized the Wii U was failing. Now only 3 years later, the developer has released another title in the series, Mario Tennis Aces. With the return of the story mode and more fleshed out features, let's see if this is the tennis experience fans have been waiting for. The game begins by throwing players into the story mode right out of the gate. Mario and Peach have just won the Mushroom Kingdom tennis tournament when all of a sudden, Wario and Waluigi appear with a dangerous looking racket. Tempted by its power, Luigi takes hold and all three are taken over by the evil power inside. After their escape, Mario and Toad are sent out on a journey by Peach and Daisy. They uncover the secret of the racket's origins and must retrieve the vague MacGuffins called Power Stones before their brainwashed companions. They go off and retrieve the Power Stones one by one until ready to face off against the evil racket. The story here is kind of interesting. It's not good or compelling, but it's one of the few times we've actually gotten to see some personality from the Mushroom Kingdom inhabitants, and it's pretty cool. The game also has this great tongue-in-cheek sense about it, pointing out how ludicrous it is that every problem in the world is solved with a game of tennis. It's nothing amazing, but I got a chuckle here and there. Aside from that, there are 3 main mission types: tennis matches, minigames, and boss battles. Each comes with a bit of dialogue before and after, giving each match a sense of purpose in the world. Traversal is easy as well, with a world map that can be traveled through as well as a fast travel system for objectives further away. The downside to this is the lack of any kind of replay button. The dialogue is a cute addition, but if a mission has failed, the game kicks you out of the match, then makes you click through the text boxes, reinitiate the stage, and click through the intro again just to replay. It slows things down to a crawl and adds even more frustration to some of the more challenging stages. When I fail, I want to get right back into the action and try again, so this is a pretty big oversight that just had me giving up on some of the more difficult non-essential missions that I otherwise found pretty fun to play. Plus, when most of the missions are time-based, it means that instead of restarting a challenge you know you don't have time to complete, the game makes you go through this entire process, and it's incredibly tedious. Visually, the game is pretty slick. Typical cartoony Mario fare with a solid amount of detail and texture work. It's nothing that'll blow your mind, but it's nice to look at. The music, on the other hand, is pretty disappointing. The tracks here are pretty standard and generic for a Mario game, and they repeat far too often. It never got grating for me, but if it did for someone else, I wouldn't be surprised. On the bright side, the actual tennis in this game is pretty good. Players have 5 different shots they can choose from, as well as the ability to charge them up for extra power. This game also introduces trick shots that allow each character to use their special maneuver to reach a ball that would otherwise be too far away. All of these shots have an effect on the super meter, which, when charged, can slow down time to make a shot easier, unleash a powerful star shot in which players can choose exactly where to hit the ball, or use everything to throw out a super move, which is similar to the star shot but can be used from anywhere on the court. This game also introduces racket breaking. If a super shot or star shot is hit too early or too late, the player's racket takes damage. Take too much damage and your racket breaks, and if all of your rackets are broken, you lose by a KO. This is a creative use of existing tennis rules and a really nice touch, especially since power shots can be hit back without damage if timed correctly. Mario also gets a pseudo-RPG stat system in Adventure Mode, allowing him to increase his speed and agility on the court, as well as collect more rackets to extend his life in a match and improve durability. Unfortunately, it's a little underwhelming due to the game's short adventure and the system's lack of depth, so it comes off as a tacked-on feature used to extend the playtime by holding players back with a weak character instead of challenging opponents or creative matches. On top of all that, there are stage hazards present on certain courts. Piranha plants, warp mirrors, shy guys running across the court that hit your balls back, and this fucking pole that always gets in the way and never once helped me out! I hate this fucking thing! It's all here, and if nothing else, it adds some variety. All of this shows just how much the development team thought about what to put in the game while still making the core tennis experience fun to play, and that more time and care went into the end product than in the previous title, but it still feels like there's something missing. While the actual tennis and super moves feel fun and cool to use, the game still feels like a wacky tennis game rather than a true Mario sports game, like the crazy factor was set to an 8 instead of being turned up to 11. Where are the power-ups? The giant courts with 4 players on each side? Why is there only one doubles match in the entire story mode? Why is Mario the only player character in the adventure until the end? It's just so half-baked and screams rush job. The minigames are pretty much the same. Rally for as long as possible, hit these special targets, use certain shot types to get past an opponent. It's all entertaining while it lasts, but none of it really feels memorable or creative. There is a shining light here, however, and those are the boss battles. There aren't a ton of them in this 5-hour-long campaign, but those that are here are super fun. They all consist of the same kind of fight, whittling down an opponent's health until opening them up to a star shot and aiming for their weak spot, but the creative designs and uses of the game's limited mechanics make each fight well worth experiencing, with some even posing a decent challenge. That said, with a campaign that's only 5 hours long, it's the content outside of the adventure that really matters, and honestly, there's not a ton of it. The only modes that exist are quick play and tournaments, with only meager offerings at that. The lack of a minigame mode or training mode for getting better at specific skills in the game makes improvement difficult and frustrating. The single match exhibition mode doesn't allow for custom games or lobbies unless you're playing with friends. The computer tournaments are incredibly easy to the point of being straight up laughable. The character selection screen is diverse in terms of looks and player types, but the game doesn't actually tell players what these different attributes actually mean, leaving players in the dark, and there isn't even a way to play a standard 6-game set, which is just baffling. Plus, every single character's star shot is exactly the same as every other's. When it comes to the most prominent online offerings, the game stumbles here as well, with the tournament mode simply being a ladder in which players face off against random opponents and each run granting additional ranking points for a win. The issue comes with a complete lack of quality control. There's no way to report a player for using a lag switch or delay of game, no comparing pings to ensure the game finds a good connection, no way to jump back into a tournament if you lose, and many of the matches come down to either a complete victory or crushing defeat since there's little in the way of skill comparison when selecting opponents. Lag is also a constant issue, as are input errors. Not enough to ruin the game, but definitely worth a mention. The worst part is the trick shots, which can be pulled off with either a flick of the right stick or by double tapping the X button. The problem here is that double tapping the X button also causes your character to lob or drop shot the ball, leading to a lot of accidental trick shots which inevitably miss. Special shots are also a concern. Here, players can choose where they want the ball to go after jumping into the air, but it moves so fast that unless players activate slow motion by burning meter or get lucky with a guess as to where their opponent will aim, it's impossible to hit the ball back. I'd have much preferred a power shot that moves slightly faster and has the ability to damage a racket, but can still be hit, as it would have allowed for more strategy, better control, and maybe even encouraged the designers to implement a running shot, which is a basic feature of tennis that's surprisingly absent here. Still, through it all, past the matching issues, lag, and general gameplay faults, Mario Tennis Aces still manages to create one of the most fun and engaging tennis experiences in the series thus far, and while I could go into how certain moves and techniques along with the roster diversity make for a fun game, it's all difficult to explain without having you play the game yourself. Instead, I'd like to show you all a single point I played. It wasn't anything particularly special in terms of the match I was playing, but it should give you a good look at just what the game has to offer. So here you go.
Yeah!
As you can see, things can get really tense. Despite all of its shortcomings, Mario Tennis Aces is a solid entry in the series that I hope Camelot can improve upon in the future, which is why it gets a 7.5 out of 10. Whether it's another tennis game or maybe something in the Mario Golf series, Camelot's clearly taking steps in the right direction that I hope to see continue in the future. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe to see more Mighty reviews and other gaming content. And as always, have a mighty nifty day today.